Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about, was it a red flag when the narcissist was truthful at the beginning of a relationship? And also, why does a relationship with somebody who is narcissistic cause so much more pain than your average relationship? So we'll start at the beginning. If a narcissist shares too much information, it's kind of them foreshadowing what's going to happen in the future. So they might tell you a bunch of things that they did, give you some reasons on negative things, why they cheated with an ex, why they didn't do this, or whatever the situation is, whatever truth they're telling you about some of their flaws. If they overshare too much information, they're doing it as for a reason. They're kind of setting up their little toolbox. So we're thinking that we're connecting with them. We might even share some of the things that we've done, reasoning why, and we think that we're connecting with the person. And they don't really care what you're saying. They're just putting it in that toolbox to use it against you in the future. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But the reason that relationships with a narcissist hurt so bad is we think we have a connection with them. We're interacting with them. We feel there's love, that it's mutual, and we don't realize that we're just seen as an object. So we're talking to an object. We're pouring our hearts out to an object. And for the longest time, during the love bombing stage, we're put on a pedestal. We feel like everything's perfect. And then the devaluation starts, and it can be at the drop of a hat. So the devaluation at a drop of a hat can kind of put a shockwave through us. And that's kind of hard. So we try to rebalance things. We try to connect with the person. If they don't know how to handle the situation, they'll often go into silent treatments, which makes it worse on us because we just want to discuss it. But what they'll do is they'll go through that toolbox, and let's say they cheat on you. So you're trying to work through it, trying to understand, and so they'll give us some excuse, something like that. And we try to work through it a little bit more because it's a very shallow reason. And so they'll start using whatever we said against us. So we might have said that, my ex used to beat me. And so they're going to be like, okay, I cheated. I messed up one time. One time I was drunk, but I've never beaten you because I love you. And it sounds like, yeah. And they kind of like throw you off balance. Like, this isn't really what the topic was, but I mean, that's a legitimate point. So we get a little confused and we try to get back on topic, and they'll bring us around in circles. And then they'll tell us that we're being unreasonable. They're not listening. Of course, I love you. They try to reassure us, but it's an empty reassurance. And you can kind of pick up on it. The other thing that they do is when they tell us all those truths in the beginning, they might say, I couldn't handle it anymore. My ex would go through my phone. My ex would do this and always question me. She gave me a hard time. Could be a guy. And so I couldn't take it anymore. So we're already like, oh my gosh, well, you're telling me you're changing your ways, that, either they were the victim. So we don't want to victimize them. We want to understand them. So we're not going to go through their phone. Obviously, they've changed their ways that they're telling us. Um, that we can be trusted, they can be trusted. So already we're not going through their phone. And it gives them a little more leeway. Now their phone is hidden, it's secret. We're not going to go through it. And they have a reassurance that that's how we're going to act. We're not going to nag them as much. So we're not connecting like we should, which is part of the reason it hurts. But it also gives them more freedom to be spoiled, do things their way, not be confronted by us over simple little things. They often lie because they don't like to feel anything confrontational. So you can't have a normal conversation with them. When you do, the connection is not real. When you go through a devaluation stage, you want to make it right because everything was perfect during that love bombing stage. And whatever the issue is, it seems so minute to you that this is so easily fixable. But they don't like being called out even for the smallest little things. So it starts to hurt. And then once we start trying to communicate with them, they want the power. Um, so they don't fix the problem. They use that problem as fuel because more problems will come up because we didn't nip that in the bud. So it snowballs out of control, leaving us out of control because we want to get back on track. And the more we try, the less they try. They take full advantage of it. They turn it around to where everything's our fault. They'll confuse us, bring things up from the past when we're trying to talk about the issue at hand now. And it can be something totally unrelated. So, whatever they have told us in the beginning is them telling you what's going to happen in your relationship. Narcissists don't like to change. They get kind of stuck in their personality, and they know how to love bomb. They've studied people, and often they've had more partners, so they've been through more relationships, and it's just them learning how to manipulate. So we think we're interacting with somebody who can feel empathy, somebody who has a true desire, not not to be self-serving, but we think we're with somebody who has a true desire to have a good relationship, not a self-serving relationship. And when we try to connect with them, they just pull out that toolbox, and it's so confusing. And it's that I think is one of the most painful things is we're confused. It's easily fixable, but they don't want to take the time. They make it worse in our heart because it it, it's mind blowing all the different things that they do. They devalue us the way that they talk to us. They think they're better than us. So even just the words that they use, but be aware of what they overshare in the beginning, because you know, eventually over time we do kind of feel comfortable, and we're like, yeah, like I did this and I felt bad. Like I did this to my ex, as opposed to this is what happened, and they'll give you an excuse. It kind of wasn't their fault, or it was just over the top and they couldn't take it. So they had to get out because it was toxic because of the ex. And they're just conforming you to where they're manipulating you into the right behaviors. Oh, I'm not going to go through your phone. And normally, if you trust somebody, you don't do that anyways, but there's a red flag that goes off inside us. And sometimes we're like, am I crazy? Like, why do I feel I need to drive by somebody's house? Is he at so and so's house? He told me he was doing this. And for some reason, those red flags, your intuition really kicks in. And there's a reason your intuition kicks in. And I was really good. I never checked up on things, but twice I did. Twice. Both times I was right. For some reason, there is something telling you something's not right. So if you think they're cheating, not they don't. If it's a healthy relationship or a narcissistic relationship, just because you have that gut instinct isn't always correct, but 90% of the time it will be. And you try to talk to them, you're just not getting the right answers. And if you do get answers, it's them putting it back on you. So just be aware of those tricks that they're using. They're telling you what's going to happen in the future with you, but they're trying to give themselves a safe spot, a safety net where you don't go through their phone, you don't nag, you don't question. It's not necessarily even nagging, it's just asking a question. Narcissists are really hard to have straightforward conversations with, and that can be very painful because you connect when you have straightforward conversations. Just like if, I asked how your day was and you're like talking about something totally different. It's like, did we connect? Like, I'm asking about you. I care about you. And okay, you have a red car. So the connection is off. So the more we try, the less they try. They do try to manipulate, and it is a red flag. Pay attention to some of the things that they've told you, whether it was I cheated or I have an illegitimate kid when I was in a relationship with somebody else, a marriage, because it's okay to have illegitimate kids, but little signals like that. And I hope that came out the right way. I'm talking like if they were married and had another child with somebody else. So just be cautious. Please comment below on some of the things that you found was the most painful. They promise us the world and then they change their mind. when it's not self-serving. So they promise us things to keep us, and then as soon as they have us, especially if you're in a marriage or living together, it's kind of like you're locked down now. Like they got you, and they will disassemble your relationships with other people. You'll feel like you're walking on eggshells, and anytime you question them, it's going to be really hard to communicate. It can be very painful. But pay attention to those red flags. They tell on themselves. They'll tell you exactly where this is headed. So big hugs, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.